You're here because you want to decrease your arm pain while throwing. It's one of the things we see most commonly at the Overhead Athletic Institute because we offer physical therapy services as well as sport-specific rehabilitation and return to throw progressions. The most important component in successfully rehabilitating a throwing athlete is correcting and enhancing their throwing mechanics so they no longer expose their shoulder, elbow to the same pathological stresses that led to their injury. In this video, I want to show you some proven methods of strengthening your arm so that you can better endure the stresses of the throw with stability as well as flexibility, as well as some ways that you can enhance your throwing mechanics so that you no longer expose your shoulder and elbow to the same pathological stresses that contributed to your injury. The number one way that you can begin to decrease your arm pain is by training the strength of your shoulder muscles, the rotator cuff specifically. Chuck's going to do our 90-90 external rotation exercise that's going to target 2 of our rotator cuff muscles and part of a 3rd one. You can see that he's shaking at the top a little bit. That's normal. There's a little bit of weakness in his shoulder at that end of range of motion. He's starting with a 3-pounder. Most of our athletes are going to start with a 2 or a 1-pounder and going through this range of motion. The first thing, I always tell people, the first thing that you can do to increase strength and durability throughout the throw is to get your shoulder as strong as possible. The first exercise we like to do are exercises that aren't going to overly stress the shoulder, that are going to get the back of the shoulder really strong. This one puts the shoulder in similar position to the throw and allows him to strengthen it in that position. We'll program 3 sets of 10 reps. Don't let your elbow drop down this way. So typically we have people use their thumb to hold their arm so that their arm doesn't deviate down. It's a perfect rotation, and he's trying to get up as high as he can. That's how high he can get. He has that amount of range of motion. He needs to develop strength through that range. The next exercise we'll have people do is still part of this first tip, is to strengthen the top of the rotator cuff, the supraspinatus. We need to strengthen it in a way that replicates the throwing motion or the position that it's in during the end of the throw when it's most loaded. So here he's doing an empty can lift with a band where he's in a lunge stance under his front foot. And likewise, we'll program multiple sets of 10 to 15 repetitions to try to increase the strength of the rotator cuff. Don't allow any shrugging. He's reaching out that way as far as he possibly can. Shoulder strength is going to dictate the position that the arm is in when it undergoes load. The stronger that you get your shoulder, the better that your throwing mechanics are going to be, and the more durable both your elbow and your shoulder are going to be during the throw. Likewise, getting strong is never going to have any detrimental effects to your throwing motion, and most people are not strong enough in their rotator cuff and shoulder. When people come in for therapy, the overwhelming majority are weak, and we know that as a result of throwing throughout the season, the average pitcher loses about 10 to 20% of their rotator cuff strength as a result of cumulative breakdown in throwing workload. Key number 2 to improving your arm health is to strengthen your forearm muscles. We like to do that in a variety of different ways. One way in which we will start to do that is to take a ball and wrap it in the band. This will allow you to, number 1, have a ball and grip the ball in a pitch grip, but also have resistance for the forearm. We need to get the elbow as strong as possible. So Chuck's going to get into a lunge stance. He's going to take his elbow and flex it, and now he can do his fastball grip wrist curls all the way from extension to flexion, trying to get the forearm strong through the full range of motion. You shouldn't have pain with either the shoulder exercises or the elbow exercises. That's a sign that they're being done incorrectly, or that we need to modify and adjust your technique or your exercise selection. And you can modify your grip to strengthen different aspects of the forearm in different planes that are specific to the throw. So now he's doing a curveball grip, strengthening a different part of the forearm. Once again, we've put him in a lunge stance position that is going to replicate positions of the throw. So key number 2, improve your elbow strength and forearm strength. The third key to protecting your arm and allowing you to be as powerful as possible in the throw is working on core stability and strength throughout the extent of your range of motion. So here we're doing a rotational chop in a half kneeling position. One of our exercises from our corrective exercise program, similar to the other exercises you've seen that we incorporate in our arm care program. And Chuck is not only strengthening his core, chest up a little bit, but he's also going to the end of his range of motion. The more range of motion you have throughout your core musculature, the more rotation you're going to be able to move through in the throw, the more powerful you're going to be able to be in the throw over a greater range. So we'll program this with 5-second holds at the end, maybe 3 sets of 10 on each side. This is one of quite a few exercises that we'll use to increase rotational power and correct asymmetries that occur as a result of throwing that may predispose you to injury. The fourth key to enhancing your arm health and protecting your arm long term is to increase the efficiency of your throwing mechanics. A lot of times we see errors in the throw or flaws in the throw where somebody has a low elbow, a high elbow, an arm that drags way too far behind their body, a ball that's too far away that predisposes the elbow to load, maybe a deceleration arc that's too short where the athlete can't get their chest forward at the end of the throw. Regardless of what the fault is, we can start by increasing efficiency by putting the body in a better position and asking the athlete to throw from there. So what we're going to do here with Chuck is use one of our positions from our phase-specific throwing program. Go ahead and get set in position 2, the ER apex for me. So he's rotated now, he's rotated into his hip away from the target. So he's closed from the target. The ball's in close to his head, so we decrease that lever arm torque that can damage the UCL. The shoulder and the elbow are all on the same plane here, and then he can take a big step and be an athlete and throw from there. So once again, we got to get the elbow at the right height. We manage the amount of elbow flexion. We control for how closed you are away from the target, how loaded you are into this back hip. Look at the target, and then big step and throw. By putting him in this position, we're allowing him to be more efficient because he's starting from a good position. We've got his arm in the proper position, his trunk and hips and pelvis in the proper position, and then he has to cover as much distance as he possibly can towards the target and get his chest forward. So because he's in a loaded position, efficient position to start, it allows him to move through an efficient position and move through efficient kinematic sequencing later in the throw. We can scale that position, so now he goes into that same more efficient arm position where he's a little bit out in front so he doesn't drag his arm. Right there, his ball's in close, his elbow's at the proper height. Now he's in a single leg stance, and we've scaled it further back in the throw, so now he has to actually load through his hip and make an efficient throw to the target. We'll have Chuck demo that one more time for you guys. So good positioning of the arm, loading through the hip, looking at the target, and making a good solid throw. Then we have to be able to translate that and transfer that to the full throw and the full pitch at a high intensity, as Chuck does here, so that he is able to get into the proper positions at the right time. That's what you have to be able to learn long term. So the idea is that he can throw from an efficient position where he doesn't have any pain, and he can teach his body where it's supposed to be at the right times in the throw. And then our job at the Overhead Athletic Institute is to teach you how to do that and move through the throw with specificity, but also with proper arm positioning, proper torso positioning, and allow you to replicate the same things that allowed you to be pain-free from the position from the full throw. These 4 things, strengthening your shoulder, strengthening the muscles around the elbow, as well as strengthening the core and allowing yourself to rotate better with increased stability throughout that full range of motion, and then correcting the flaws or inefficiencies in the throw is going to allow you to protect your shoulder and your elbow long term, but also allow you to maximize your throwing velocity without exposing those joints to unnecessary risk of injury. This is what we've done with our programs at the Overhead Athletic Institute, including our complete program, which incorporates our rotational corrective exercise, our arm care exercise, and our phase-specific throwing program, so that we can maximize the efficiency and the kinematics of the throw, but also allow you to withstand additional load, being stronger and more stable, so that you can move through the throw with less resistance and with a pathway of least resistance that allows you to maximize your velocity and keep your arm as healthy as possible.